This week's topic in OBD 489 is Workforce Trends and Leadership, a subject that underscores the simultaneously significant and exciting complexity of today's organizational environment. Our exploration of workforce issues will provide a terrific update on selected trends and also will provide a forum for class group members to discuss workforce issues of particular interest in their work organizations. There are many ways to examine and categorize current workforce trends, and it's beneficial to start with an understanding of basic workforce issues. This slide presents the categories of workforce issues that appear on the website for workforce.com. In its About Us link, Workforce describes itself as a multimedia publication that covers the intersection of people management and business strategy. So it's a very strong resource for this week's topic, and we'll surf the website in this week's class. Let's briefly examine the categories depicted here. Compensation and benefits, the first two categories, cover areas ranging from job design and reward programs to healthcare and retirement benefits. These areas address the very core of what employees do on the job and the rewards and benefits they receive in return. The design of these systems impact many aspects of an organization's functioning, not the least of which is the organization's ability to recruit and retain top talent. HR administration covers the organization's policies and procedures, and the related area of legal issues addresses subcategories such as worker safety, discrimination and the EEOC, labor relations, and disabilities. Recruitment addresses the organization's processes and strategy for bringing aboard prospective talent, and staffing encompasses the important area of workforce planning, i.e., meeting the organization's goals and objectives by strategic placement of talent throughout the organization. From the point of view of leadership, for example, we might ask, is the organization doing succession planning? In other words, is it thinking ahead to the next wave of organizational leaders? Technology is an area to which we'll actually devote our final week of the course. This reflects the central importance of technology to leading organizations. Training, of course, is the organization's learning and development function. It connects with talent management, including leadership development. Workplace culture, in very large measure shaped by leadership, encompasses the assumptions, values, and beliefs that define the organization and its way of working. Issues of contemporary interest in this area include work-life balance and ethics. This week's readings and media will allow us to take a closer look at trends that are occurring in areas such as staffing management, talent management, and workplace culture, and I think you'll note a particular emphasis on workplace culture. Given such a broad range of workforce issues, and given the pace of change in today's work organization and in the world in general, there are dozens of trends that we could elect to read about and discuss this week. I've selected several that are repeatedly referenced across publications, that emerge in survey data, and that are noted as important by both academics and practitioners, and also very importantly by our students as well. So this week's readings in media reflect themes that emerge in classes across our curricula and that students say they are dealing with in their own work organizations. Let's take a brief look at some of these trends. It's possible to categorize them, and I've attempted to do that here on this slide, but as you read about them and discuss them, it quickly becomes clear that the categories are overlapping. Workplace culture is an area of particular interest, and it encompasses several current and important workforce trends. Because of its impact on managing organizational talent, I've combined it with talent management on this slide. One area we'll read about is positivity in the workplace, which comes from the positive organizational behavior movement or positive organizational scholarship. POB, positive organizational behavior, and POS, positive organizational scholarship, the empirical research underlying this area, reflect a perspective that accentuating the positive versus focusing primarily on what's wrong can significantly alter workplace climate at individual level, team level, and organization level performance. So a good question to ask as you're reading and viewing this week's materials is, how would things be different if we engaged employees around the strengths-based perspective to leading a work organization or leading a team? What leadership behaviors are required to shape an engaged workforce, and what results could we expect? Work-life balance is another trend that can be categorized under workplace culture, and it's finding its way into many current leadership frameworks. So, for example, Bill George, whose work on authentic leadership we already have visited, talks about the integrated life as absolutely critical to living and leading authentically, and to managing the stress that comes with leadership, i.e., the idea that in addition to a professional life, a leader's life should include a personal life, a family life, and community connections. This week's readings in media include an article and a video with Stuart Friedman, an author who writes about what he calls the four-way win. He posits that it's not about balance, which means that you have to take away from one area to benefit another. Rather, he says it's about successfully fulfilling all four areas: home, work, community, and self. He suggests experiments for making this happen, and we'll analyze this approach in this week's discussion. Generational differences also can be classified under the heading of workplace culture. The question of how baby boomers, Gen Xers, and the millennials can best work together is an issue that's been addressed pretty thoroughly in the business literature, though a question remains whether these groups are really all that different when it comes to what they value in a work organization. A podcast from the Center for Creative Leadership suggests that there may be more similarities than common stereotypes would convey. But another very large trend to consider in this area is that organizations are expecting a large contingent of baby boomers to leave the workforce. As the boomers retire, organizations need to be prepared for the transition because there are huge potential impacts to an organization's knowledge and talent base. Workspace design can impact a lot of areas, such as recruitment or even staffing management. It might also be classified under workplace culture because of the significant impact it can have on how employees work together. This is a profoundly interesting area that actually affects several additional trends, such as collaboration and creativity and innovation. The conventional wisdom is that the successful organization will promote extensive collaboration among its employees and it will innovate. So a terrific question to ask is, what are the implications for workspace design? A very recent HBR article will explore this question. Flowing directly from trends in workspace design and collaboration is the question of how to manage remote workers and dispersed teams. The global nature of work, the benefits afforded us by technology, flexible work schedules, these are among the trends that have given rise to the virtual team. A good question to ask here is, what are the best practices and what can leadership bring to the picture? Stress management can be categorized in a number of ways, probably most appropriately as a health issue or even a workplace culture issue. It harks back to the work-life balance issue, to be sure. What can organizations do to support their employees in managing stress? How can leaders manage their own stress? And what are the implications? The questions on this slide provide food for thought and an opportunity to think more deeply about the trends and their implications. What are the most significant workforce issues facing your work organization and the industry within which you work? How is your work organization and the organization's leadership responding to these issues? How do the trends described in this week's learning materials compare with your own workplace experiences? And what are the implications for your current work and/or your own development as a manager and a leader? I look forward to learning your perspective.